Good morning, everybody. It's Marty the JavaScript Party. It is Thursday, November 20th. It is 8:26 a.m. So I have 34 minutes before I start work. So if I am wise and diligent, I will be logging off in 29 minutes. That'll give me 5 minutes to upload my videos and to log in to work. It is Thursday, so Rhett has to stay out in the living room because at any moment, my son-in-law, my daughter-in-law will be dropping off their dogs, or will be bringing their dogs. Their dogs get crazy, so that will be that. So I love this project, and the reason I love this project is because the way I'm doing it, like this daily sort of do 20, 30 minutes worth of work, maybe an hour worth of work, and then um 24 hours off, and then 20, 30 minutes worth of again, maybe an hour, and then 24 hours. Gives me a lot of time to sort of kind of think through what's happening, because normally I would just blow through sort of all of these things in a couple of hours, and then I wouldn't, I don't really fully examine everything that's happening. And then I get to think about it in context of like what's happening at work and other things like that. So I really enjoy it. But doesn't look like we use this render service. Um, but uh, one of the things, okay, so we have a new feature. I'm trying to build out a new feature. I'm calling it a new feature. It, you could call it a bug. Like it's not a technical bug because we never tried to build it. We were never told to build it. Um, but it is like the philosophy of the application would typically demand this. So the issue is that if I change this, I hit update, and then it doesn't automatically resize this. See, it resizes this stuff down here. Well, see, like it will update this stuff automatically, and it automatically moves these guys around, but it doesn't automatically resize this visualization or the component around it. And to me, this is very interesting because um, it really highlights sort of one of the unique things that is like it happens in probably all kinds of coding, but it happens a lot in um, front end, a lot more in front end than any other kind of coding that I'm aware of. And that's that we have the same issue, but it's being solved in completely different ways, and it's appropriate to solve it in completely different ways. So like something is controlling these positions, right? Like no matter what I change, um, those guys just automatically adapt to the browser window, and that is probably, I think, I'm not 100% sure on that because I can't remember exactly how we implemented that, but I'm pretty sure that's 100% abstracted away. That is probably some sort of component that we're using, and we told it to do that, and it just does it, and we don't even worry about it. But then, like, we created CSS rules to handle it here, and then we also have it working here in this view. And so that automatically resized. And that is a whole different implementation that takes care of that. Um, and then, but the appropriate, and it's not the implementation for that, if I'm remembering correctly, is that we're doing an update. See, in order to get these little things, these animations to happen, we have to update the screen 60 times a second. So I believe what I had implemented was that, well, while I'm there, just go ahead and check to see if the screen has changed. And if the screen has changed, then go ahead and update it, which I think is extremely reasonable, but it's not typical. And there's only one reason it's not typical, and it's because literally updating the screen 60 times a second is something that is in very, very few applications. The vast majority, I would say 99% plus majorities of applications are just showing something that isn't updating and that you're not controlling 60 times. If it is showing some sort of animation or something, it's typically not something that you're handling in code, but this is something that we're handling in code because we're trying to build something that does updates. So that's like a whole different kind of thing. So it would be really easy for someone like who hasn't looked at this code to say and looked at this problem and doesn't understand this domain to say, wait, this is a terrible way to do this. We should have it event driven. Because literally 99 times out of 100, if you have to manage the layout, you want to have an event and then you want to respond to that event. You don't want to update. You don't want to constantly be searching or querying and all that. You just want to, hey, when this event happens, do this code. That's how you normally want to do it. And and it's weird because like we don't really need to account for the way this resizing is going to work on that. And we don't actually have to account for this. Like we could create an event driven UI to handle this and leave the existing one alone, right? Like we could just existing ones alone. So this is being handled a certain way. This stuff is being handled a different way. Like we don't have to write code that cares about both of them. And the thing is we can't even write code. Like it would be really silly to do this event driven because I'm pretty sure it's probably CSS screens, and it very well could be that I think we like part of it is handled through CSS rules and part of it is handled just through the library. And then, so what I'm saying is like it would be a mistake to do to use to not have everything use a single service in a single place to have the truth, right? Like I don't want to be doing like a search for Windows inner width and find everything that changes and then find out that, oh, by the way, and this other thing we use a different kind of property and this other thing we do this other calculation. Oh, and by the way, we added this thing, so we need to account for that when this is up and all that. We don't want to have that spread all over the place, but not everything uses this. So like we are in a weird situation. And so I kind of decided to come at this from a different angle, like from more of a like architectural angle, and it all of that is crystal clear to me. Like, oh my gosh, we have to. This should be coming from a service, and then that same service probably should have um, an event that can be subscribed to or a signal that can be listened. I don't know what the right word for it. It can be affected from, um, and um, and that should all probably be rolled up into one place, one little section of the code. So, so then, so it's like, okay, so this is a mistake. This wasn't a mistake, right? It was the only place to do it. It'd be silly to build out an entire service and a structure, an infrastructure for that when only one thing is using it. But now we're going to have two things using it. And that's probably like, to me, the most difficult and challenging part of being a software developer is um, it's not the initial build out, which is not trivial by any means. It's the maintenance of the build out. Like that's the trick. So it looks like I have a variable that I never use. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that now. I generally try to not change things that aren't related to whatever I'm doing, but um, removing unused variables seems to be like a really good exception to that rule. Um, and I think like it kind of falls under the rule of always leave the campsite better than you found it. I think that's a really good rule. So wild that I need to get that to work too. Um, again, that would be like another thing that you might call. Oh, that is interesting. So we lost the number one. So the number one never got recycled. Um, and that was like kind of one of the things that I did want to have before I moved out of this, but I'm just over it. I'm over freaking that um, that rabbit hole. But what I wanted to do is be able to go like add viz, close this, open this, go here, go here, see that it's one, go here, delete it, add the viz, go back in, and it be one. So maybe after this resize thing, we'll work on that. Yeah, because I guess I never did get to the recycling all the IDs part of that rabbit hole. But let's go. I just need to change. It's driving me nuts. So anyways, we want to move this into its own, into a service. And I remember from yesterday when we were kind of looking over the services that there was a service called UI service, which seems like the place that you would handle this kind of thing. That's kind of weird because everything in UI service is about renderer. So it almost feels like I think in entities there is a renderer service. But this, yeah, so we have our ST renderer and we have a visualization service. And we have our visualization service, which is about visualization. Maybe that's because it was like an over, like since it does both, I couldn't really come up. See, we have this. It almost feels like this should be in one of those two, but since it is going across two, maybe it doesn't make sense. Okay, so we have our visualization service. We have our render service. So basically, when we delete a render, we have to make sure we delete it in the render service and in the visualization service. And I've gotten to where I don't, if I see that word prune, I think that that's a bad sign that I might have taken a shortcut. Um, Typically, I put prune functions that will go in and say, hey, does this thing that I'm using not exist anymore? Okay, let me remove it. That's probably a sign that I should have removed it when it didn't get removed. All right, so I think this still falls under UI. I think if anything, this doesn't fall under UI, but I can't quite figure out what it falls under. So anyways, I think we need a private variable. Do we? Because this is a property on window. Now I guess we don't need that. We don't need a private. Okay, so I think we need a function called get viewport width. Lord, I can't type this morning. It's 8:40. And that is going to return a number. It's literally just going to return. See here? Yeah, window inner width. And then, and honestly, the only reason we're doing this is because um, we have grown, right? So we had one consumer of this information before, and now that we are in control of, that we're empowered. There's tons of consumers of this information, but there's only a couple that we're in charge of, and one of them is this viewport is oh, and that one is the visualization service. The visualization service uses that. Um, and then we want our viewport height. But now we want to in increase the size to now we're going to have two of them. So we need to, did I just miss, I think it's EI. Is that right? Right. Pretty sure Windows people probably spelled it right. HEIGHT, yeah. And that's going to return a number. And that is going to return window inner height. Now, like I said, at some point, we might want to accommodate for something else. And this function will be the place to accommodate that. But for now, we just want the actual window height. But I do know that um, everything I've ever worked on at some point in time, we're like, well, if this is there, we want to use this or whatever, and this might be the only place to do that. All right. Now, the thing I guess I've never really thought about this before. This is literally a novel thought for me, but like, is the, oh, so that's interesting. So the visualization service gets pulled into this and, okay, yeah. So I don't know if that's if that's a good idea. It seems like it might be a bad idea. You take, so I'm adding this to UI service and the visualization service uses this. So I think that is a problem. I don't know. I've never actually thought about that one. So working in Angular and I have two services that refer to each other. I'm just curious. This is a very open-ended question, um, or that import each other. That's such an open-ended statement. I'm just curious what it. Okay. Okay, so this is a mistake. Okay, so that's good. It's good. Good to figure that out. Okay, so we don't want these two. And we want to create a new service. And I think I'm just going to call it viewport service. All right. And then the problem, I don't even know. The weird thing is I have like sort of two concepts that collide inside this visual or this UI service. It's like two concepts. So I think viewport service should go in UI. I do think this is a bad one. Um, so, but the way I create new services, I'll go into my package and it's a service that's going to be like an S. I always start my script names with S that are going to do that. Let me do this. Woo! Sorry about that. Um, I don't even know if this is a good idea, but I will say that my brain is working, or the way I approach problems has changed recently because I am like legitimately becoming a full stack developer where I spend a lot of time working on the API where I work and working on C Sharp and .NET. And those the way you come at problems is a little reversed of the way. And there's like this guy I work with all the time. He's just a great guy, but he uh, he knows a language, like his first language. When he was reading, he reads from right to left, and it's so funny because like the way we are, like when we're trying to pair program, it's always like so weird. We always run into this little clash where I'll say, okay, well, I'll do this, and then he'll start, and it's just like, ooh, with the context that of things starting from right to left, the words I say actually mean something different, which is just such a bizarre thing. So this is going into my UI. So services UI, but this one is going to be called plat viewport. So I'm only going to do viewport stuff in this. So anything that's specific about viewport, and that's going to make my life easier in the future, I think. It's not S. Yeah, it's definitely not S. If I was going to put something, maybe it would be like Windows W. You know what? I'm going to do that. So the is indicative that this is about the window. I think that's a good idea. Service W viewport. Yeah, I'm over with like saying, oh, well, if it's viewport, it's obviously about the windows. Um, because I might decide I want to keep my own S version of the viewport in the future. I can't imagine it, but I've seen weirder things, that's for sure. All right, so I need a new terminal. And I want to say npm run. Oh, my rule is anytime I do come in here, close out there. And another thing I want to make clear is that we haven't even started working on the actual or even put a single thought into the actual bug or feature. The actual feature is to resize this thing. I don't have the vaguest idea how I'm going to do that, but I'm looking at it from a high level saying, okay, I don't have the pieces in place. So be kind of like if your job was to work at the grocery store and you guys sold four kinds of fruit and you were like, hey, we're gonna sell a fifth kind of fruit, you would just know you need to make space for the fifth fruit, but you don't really know the details of that fifth fruit. And so right now we're just kind of making space for it. But like let's say like you probably at first would be like, okay, I have four kinds of fruit right now. They all use 2 feet of counter space. So that, and we have 8 feet. So now that number isn't a very good number, but now I need to either add 2 feet, an additional 2 feet, or I need to constrain everything else so that it leaves 1/5 of the space, right? Like could make either of those decisions, but if you don't know what the fruit is, you can't actually build it, right? Because um, what if it's like a big giant fruit, and it won't even fit in that space? Or what if it's, like you don't know everything yet. So until right now, we don't know everything, um, but we have to kind of separate a space out and then so you might say, okay, I'm gonna add 2 more feet, and then find out that, oh my God, this kind of fruit is so tiny or so giant that you 2 feet's not the right number, and then adjust from there. And that's kind of where we're at right now. We're at the kind of let's make some space for this future thing that's coming, but we don't exactly know how it's going to work. So we just have to have faith in ourselves that we'll be able to build that out when the time comes. So, oops, escape. Um, I don't even know what that find thing does. Um, so npm run s viewport. All right, so now what I do is I imagine where it's going to go. I don't want to just like move on with my life if everything is wrong. So we expect something to show up inside of here. A sibling to that, there'll be two. I consider both of these together one file. So there'll be two services in here. If we get to 4 services, I'll start to consider like, okay, do I need to create another folder for this? If I never go beyond 2, then this will always be fine. Um, and those are the kind of thoughts that you just kind of have to have constantly um, when you're developing software. Oh, see, I think we did like a refresh. No, okay, I was a little worried that I know we did like we moved a bunch of things into entities, but that did not affect this. And it always surprises me how long this takes. 8:51, I got 4 minutes. So we got our new viewport service. And biggest reason we did this, I put a M, okay, so W. So the W is indicative of Windows. So this is our Windows viewport service. It's going to have two functions right now. Get viewport height, which is going to be a number. And it's going to have another one called get viewport width. And that's going to be a number. And then one of them is going to return. Let's go ahead and close that up. And go to our, what is it? This is our, I can't even remember. If I go back. Curious if it'll get me where I need to be. Oh, it was right at the top, whatever. Oh yeah, here. Copy both of those. Go back over here. Paste that. We don't need either of those. And this is for the height, so we're going to return this. And return this. So now we have a service. Its only job is to deal with viewport issues. So in the future, when we're like, oh, how do I get a, a viewport, or how do I, how am I dealing with this width? I'll know that a good starting place is this service right now. Okay, so the name of the class is W viewport service. So we need to inject that into our function or into our visualization service. And I like using this. This is one thing that, because I work on Angular 10 or 11 at work, this is like if I could have one wish of one thing to bring in, it would be this right here. I think this is so nice. This injecting it, so because right now we have like these massive constructors with just tons and tons of injections in here, and this is so superior. I think that was one of like I really helped myself in the interview for this job, which oh my God, I got this job. Thank God I got this job. Um, the one of the things that I mean, I don't even know that I would be a professional computer programmer today if I hadn't got this job. I'd probably be a pizza delivery driver or something. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's it's nice being able to make a living doing what you enjoy doing. This is interesting. So it's like, oh, okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. This is weird. I don't know what to do about that. But I guess the best thing to do at this point will be to actually delete these two. Let's copy this into our, and so like literally right now, all we're doing is making room for a future feature that's coming. Just kind of wanted to wait on that. Because it seems like inner width and whatever this is, this viewport width. Oh, I see. Actually, that's okay. So this won't work for me. I mean, this works for me, but the thing is we want to see this is dealing with changes. So this one's actually getting the window inner width. So let's undo that. So this is basically kind of capturing it at the beginning, and then the other one is, so we want to do this. So basically what's happening is the way it was working, and I did not understand that, is this, we are going to cache it when it first came up so that we could check for changes. So a little comment about that would probably be really helpful to me in the future because I misread that completely. Okay, so, okay. Cache is probably save the width and the visualize when the visualization was rendered. And then below, we're checking to see if it's different, which, typically is not something you'd want to do. Like, that is not how you typically want to do something like that. Now, the thing is, we just want to make sure that this still works. Okay, so it still works, so we didn't break it. And then I think down there, I'm probably out of time, yeah. Down below, we want to use this call again. So this is the saved one, and then below we'll, okay, so right here we want to check use the service. See if there's any other places that we're using this thing. And see, that didn't even like, we didn't even, and I don't even, we won't need, oh yeah, we do. Yeah, we still need that. So yeah. So this is how we checked it. It wasn't obvious how we were doing it. I definitely misread that code. So it's, definitely like a really good example of like, hey, you wrote this code, it made sense at the time, it doesn't make sense when you go back and read it later. That is a reality. You just got to get over it. You're never going to be able to write the code the first time around and then not come back later and be like, what the hell was I even doing? Anyways, happy coding, everybody. Bye.